Welcome in to DNVR Bets Daily. As always, RK and Professor Dre, the math magician here, riding with you, trying to make you some money, as always. Unfortunately, Dre, we didn't make much money last night in the KBO. Both one game under 500 on the night. 1 and 2 for me, 2 and 3 for you. And of course, the one that we disagreed on,
Yes.
you were right. I was wrong.
That's a shame. Yeah, it kind of saved my night because 1 and 3 would have been disastrous, but 2 and 3 I'll take.
See, I would have been 2 and 1. My guy, I told you, I don't think I said this on the show, but I told you before the show.
Yeah.
I said he either gets shelled or he throws like a one-hit shutout. And he got shelled. There were two outcomes. We went for the more, I don't know, I guess, dangerous
Profitable.
one.
Yeah, the dangerous.
And more profitable, and it just didn't work out for us. So we'll get back on the horse later when it comes to the KBO. But we're excited for this show because if you didn't know, tomorrow is the MLB Draft. And while usually the MLB Draft comes and goes quietly for most sports fans, this is all we got right now. And I think a lot more people are going to be interested in the MLB Draft this year than are normally. And we at DNVR are especially interested in it because those of you who may have followed our NFL draft coverage, we had a ton of fun with it. It was a huge hit. And we said to ourselves, why not do this with every sport? And so DNVR Draft Day Live, it's coming through baseball style tomorrow. And of course, it will be hosted by the great Drew Creasman and the great Patrick Lyons now on the show, and we're super excited to have him. Drew, how you doing, man?
Wow.
So look at this. What an honor. Long time, first time.
Yes.
Thanks for having us on.
Welcome in, Patrick. How are you?
Thank you. It's as a child growing up in New Jersey, it has always been my dream to be on this show. So, wow, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You guys are after Curtis Blades and the German guys from the Cover 2 Draft podcast. So in illustrious company, I'd say.
Yep. Third time's a charm is what they say. You guys better not screw this up. We're excited to have you guys on. First, before we get into the betting side of this, give us a little bit of a preview of what you guys are going to have for people tomorrow, what they have to look forward to from an MLB draft coverage standpoint.
Yeah, we are going to be on air for, I'm going with a while. It's going to be at least 3 hours of coverage. The Rockies are going to be picking twice at 9th and 35th. We're really going to be diving into the picks over those first top 10, and then more beyond that, we're going to be talking about the Rockies organization. If you're not familiar with the farm system, you're going to get filled in. We're going to look around the NL West so you know how it kind of stacks up with the other teams that they're closest to. We are going to have guests. We've got Ryan McMahon confirmed for this thing. We're going to be talking to the head of Rockies player development and Zach Wilson. We've got a lot of people from the media whose names you know, people like Tracy Ringlesby, play-by-play man Drew Goodman's going to be on board. And we're barely scratching the surface on the guests there. So we're going to be around for a while. We're going to be celebrating the game of baseball, which hasn't had a ton to celebrate lately. And we're going to be having a great time.
We're going to paint the entire picture because, as a lot of the listeners know, the MLB draft is a lot different than the other three major sports. These players, while they may have a lot of upside and are very exciting players, you're going to forget about them for a few years because you're not going to see them at Coors Field until 2022 at the earliest, and that's if all things go perfectly. So we're going to, again, try to show you a little bit of everything about the importance of the draft and all the different facets of what goes into creating a championship team, and this is one of those ways.
Really getting the people excited there, Patrick.
Yeah. I will say on the flip side of that, the other thing is you can't just ignore it for that reason, because take a look at your Colorado Rockies and John Gray and Kyle Freeland and Ryan McMahon and David Dahl and Brendan Rodgers and Sam Hilliard and Scott Oberg. And where did all these guys come from? They were all taken during the MLB draft. The road was long, but you have to get these things right as well. So this is a big deal for the Colorado Rockies and for every team in baseball, especially with it being now just 5 rounds when it's been a 40-round affair in the past. we've never seen anything like this MLB draft either. It's going to be insane.
Awesome. Super, super excited to see what you guys have in store for us tomorrow. Coverage starting at 5 p.m. I know I'll be down at the bar. Drew, you'll be down at the bar hosting from there. So if you guys want to come and hang out, have a beer, learn a little bit about the MLB draft, I'll be right with you there, learning alongside you. So let's jump in, because Andre and I, we started this show shortly after the NFL draft, and we said to ourselves, man, it would have been really fun to do NFL draft prop bets, because there was stuff like Henry Ruggs over under 15.5, I remember, was up there, and I was like, oh my God, crush the under. There's a bunch of options like that, and we do have that for the MLB draft. So I'm not, I don't see the Henry Ruggs over under 15.5 line on here, but I have a feeling you guys might have some strong takes. Andre, something you guys should know about Andre. Andre knows about every draft of every sport. I have no idea how he does it, because just filling my brain with NFL draft stuff feels like it's going to make it explode. So Andre has some good stuff. These two have some good stuff. I'm going to listen, learn, take notes, and try to make money off of it with the rest of you. So, Andre, I'll let you get us started here.
Yeah, I'm a sick man. That's how I do it. So I really think that this draft sets up, the first 3 picks should be chalk. In fact, we didn't even have lines on guys like Spencer Tolkinson. Getting that right on the pronunciation, Patrick?
We're getting close. I'm the pronunciation guy. Torkelson. Very nice. Yes. And then Austin Martin out of Vandy should be second, and Asa Lacy, the pitcher out of A&M, should be third. That's where it should really go chalk. Then things get interesting, and that's where I want to run a couple of these lines by you, because I'm torn on what's going to happen 4, 5, 6. I think there's a bit of a sliding door scenario depending on what the Kansas City Royals do with that 4th pick. It seems like Veen, the prep outfielder out of Florida, is going to be maybe the slight favorite to go at that 4th pick. If he goes at the 4th pick, it seems as though the Blue Jays at 5 would go with a pitcher, but if Veen is there, they would go Veen. And that would leave Nick Gonzalez, who would be the candidate at 4, to slip to 6. And there's another scenario where Nick Gonzalez goes to 4, Veen then drops to 5, and I think maybe Max Meyer goes to 6. Are we all kind of on board with that? And does that mean we're all on board with Zach Veen under 5.5? Or a yes to go under 5.5? I think so for Veen. He's been the one guy who's kind of shot up charts where people are just really getting excited and getting enticed by his left-handed swing. Yeah. Again, a high school kid out of southern Florida. He just really projects well. Looked fantastic last year in the Under Armour All-American game during batting practice, just swatting balls in the right field bleachers at Wrigley Field. So he's a guy, that really could be the first major surprise of things going. You talk about, where Nick Gonzalez could go if he's an option for the Royals at 4. The Royals did pick 3 pitchers in 2018, all before the 36th overall pick. So they loaded up there, and they had some real good players fall to them, particularly Brady Singer out of the University of Florida. So I have a tendency to think that they are not going to look for a pitcher there. Now, again, that could be Asa Lacy if he's still there on the board. Right. But
there's exceptions to every rule.
Exactly. He's in talks to possibly go 2nd or 3rd, so I don't even think that'll be an option. So I do see the Royals, going with a bat there to keep the intrigue and the interest going all around.
Yeah, I don't see Veen sliding back to 6th, even though there had been speculation at time that he may even still be available for the Rockies at 9. I think that might have been wishful thinking by some people out here. And also, he's probably going to be an exception to the rule here. I would imagine, without looking at all of the lines, I'm sure we'll get into more, that more often than not, you're going to want to take the over on the high school players. They're going to drop in this draft more than anybody else. Zach Veen is just so good. He's drawn comparisons to Cody Bellinger. That's a guy that's a top 5 pick. I'll be surprised if he's back there at 6.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I like that he feels like, even if he doesn't go at 4, if Nick Gonzalez is the pick at 4, you've got that landing spot at 5 where you feel pretty safe. he'll still be off the board. Let's stick with those prep outfielders, though, because that's where, more volatile with where they'll go. I think you also might be getting a little more leeway with these lines. So Robert Hassel, for example, a guy who the Rockies have been rumored to be very high on, really appealing swing and hit tool, and his upside as a potential center fielder, I think, has teams intrigued, which is why he's been rumored to go both to the Padres at 8 or the Rockies at 9. Line here's at 10.5. Of course, anything could happen, exception to any rule. Do we like the under, like I'm suggesting here?
I do. I like the under. They set a really good line. They make it interesting, and it allows you to go either way and feel good about it. But I do think it'll be an under. The Padres are the team that I think could go up and grab Hassel the third. If that's not the case, I don't know that the Rockies are going to go with a prep bat. But again, that's part of the intrigue of the MLB draft, is that teams are given a bonus pool of money to spend on players. Mm-hmm. So if they decide to take someone like Robert Hassel III, they can say, look, we want you, but only at this price. It's going to save us $500,000, and now they can go at their 35th pick. They could go ahead and entice maybe another high school player that they're able to kind of convince him to not go to college and stick with their organization. So they can almost get 2 top 15 picks for the price of 1, which is what makes, these high school players so volatile, because you want some assurance with a college player, but you could get very creative and work out a deal where you save some money and use it later on in the draft.
That's a really interesting point. Yeah, Drew. Yeah. So how do you feel about Hassel there? 10.5?
I tend to agree, and then there's the chance still that the Angels pick him up there at 10 if the Padres pass on him. I'm with Patrick, where I think the Rockies' interest in him probably came from a before time where they thought some of these intriguing pitchers may be off the board. Maybe they hadn't looked into them as much. Their stock hadn't risen quite as well. I think now they look at a few other guys who are going to be available there. So I don't think Hassel goes to the Rockies, but I think the chances are high he goes to San Diego or LA. And that'd be a pretty good pick for those teams as well.
Is there any guy on the list you say, hey, the Rockies, this guy is not going to fall past them at 9? Is there a guy there that you just say, like, maybe you're looking at Heston Kjerstad, which is over under 7.5, and you're saying, okay, well, we know he's not going to get past 9. Is that something that, is there a couple names up here that you say that for?
Well, Max Meyers is one of those guys where he's not going to get past 9. He seems to be the darling of this draft in a lot of ways. Smaller, compact pitcher, only 6 foot even, but has a lot of stuff that's going to play. Drew and I on our DNVR Rockies podcast, we kind of compared him to Tim Lincecum, who again flamed out, had a relatively short career, has been retired for a few years, and he's only 35 years old. But in the MLB draft,
but before that,
but in an MLB draft where you can have players that are going to be selected in the top 10. Think about this. That's what's so unique about MLB, is that very rarely will all 10 players selected in the top 10 picks even make it to the majors. That is a rarity. So there's so much unpredictability, and it's hard to project things. But Max Meyers is a guy that projects to be a guy who he's going to be in the majors for a handful of years at worst. So he's got a really high floor, and he's a guy that I really don't see any way that Colorado could let him slip past them at 9, should he even go that long.
That gets me excited. Is Emerson Hancock another one in that group? I know you guys have been high on him. You like the Georgia product. He's at 6.5. And again, we did the little game, right? The 4-5-6 game. I think Meyer could factor into that, which is why I'm more skeptical on his 5.5 line. Hancock, I'm not sure he factors into the top 6. So I kind of like the over 6.5, but I know you guys are high on him.
He's very interesting. I don't know if he's available there, that the Rockies go that route. He had a huge sophomore season, and he's had some, questions about his arm injury-wise. I don't know what the medicals look like. But A few years ago in that big Troy Tulowitzki deal, of course, they acquired Jeff Hoffman, who was selected in the first round by the Blue Jays, immediately had Tommy John surgery. And although, again, he's been able to contribute in the major leagues, you have to question whether or not that had some impact on his, ability to develop and, be a fully fledged contributing major leaguer like they were hoping for in that deal. So Hancock has a similar profile like that. He's got the college experience where Hoffman, came out of a smaller school in East Carolina. Mm-hmm. I don't know that they want to go that route again and take their chances and keep their fingers crossed and hopefully we don't have another Jeff Hoffman situation here. They can't afford to do that this year.
Yeah, he could be one of those guys who slips. He's been falling a little bit, and I could see him being on the board there for the Rockies and them being like, we already like our guy. Whether it be if Max Meyers is still available or if it's Reed Detmers, I could see them taking either of those guys over Hancock, which is crazy because before the last season of amateur baseball was played, Emerson Hancock was the consensus #1 pitcher in this draft. He's been passed by Asa Lacy now, but that he might be the fifth pitcher off the board. It also speaks to the depth of the pitching talent here, but I just don't think he quite profiles as the type of guy that the Rockies want. So even if he were to be, a projected #4, #5 talent available there at #9, I don't know that they care, and that might be wise.
Nice. Yeah, I think we've got a big opportunity here with the 6.5 on Hancock from everything you're saying. I think you're saying you could set that line at 9. You might still take the over. So definitely take the over on the 6.5 for the Georgia product. And yeah, just such an odd draft for a guy like Hancock, right? Because there's the injury concerns and the fact that his final season's cut short because everyone's in lockdown. Well, it's like a double whammy for him. That's going to hurt him doubly. And then there's the other back to the prep outfielders. You guys can't stop me. Austin Hendrick, he's at 15.5. I think this is another interesting one. He's a intriguing prospect, best power of maybe certainly any prep bat in the class, maybe any bat that's not the Arkansas Danish outfielder. But he's a little older for most high school guys, and I know there's some concerns, which has made him all over. I've seen him anywhere from 7 to 18, but I think his sweet spot's more 7 to 12, which is why I like the under his 15.5 line.
Yeah, I think the Pirates are going to be a little bit enamored with this guy, and if they're not, he's going to slip. Now, Hendrick has got a power left-handed bat. There's 4 of them. The top prep bats are all left-handed. Robert Hassel III we talked about.
Zach Veen, of course.
Zach Veen, Pete Crow Armstrong.
Yep.
There's a lot of them out there. And Hendrick is a guy from West Allegheny High School. His high school is a 21-minute drive to PNC Park in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
These are the things I'm interested in and the details and fun facts you're going to get on our coverage tomorrow. So he's right in their backyard, and you got to think Pittsburgh's going to say, we want this hometown boy to do it. Everything is there. Yeah, they could go with a college guy and have a more guaranteed route to the majors for him, but it's always a crapshoot. So you might as well take a local guy who can do some good things for your community. So I think 7 could be where he goes, and if his over underline is at 15.5, that seems like a lock. But if Pittsburgh doesn't take him, that's when you're going to be seeing Rob Manfred going to the podium, and you're going to want to be hearing, come on, I want to hear Austin. I want another Austin. We heard Austin Martin. I want to hear Austin Hendrick. And you might not get it until 16, 17. So you got to be cautious on that one.
That one's definitely tricky because, I agree with Patrick. If he goes ahead, it's to that one team. You're banking on Pittsburgh taking him because a lot of these other teams are going to be really leery about high school guys. Remember, the entire future of the minor leagues is in question. There have been no minor leagues this year. There aren't going to be. Nobody knows what the rookie level and lower levels are going to look like in the near future, and that's normally where you'd stash a high school guy. So it's just, if you want to take that risk, you can, but it is a risk.
Well, I know there's a rumor that maybe a top 10 team will kind of punt on their first round pick and take someone who kind of fits exactly what Austin Hendrick's profile is, So I wonder if that could be where the under 15.5 saves you. I have seen him mock to Cincinnati as well, but that's interesting where 7's that real key point. He gets past that. All of a sudden, that 15.5 line's looking a little rougher. Mm-hmm. One that was really interesting, in part because he's one of the guys I'm studying up as our prep for the 35th pick of the Rockies, is Sale Ciccone. In Italian, I'd pronounce it Ciccone, but I definitely know that's not how he pronounces it. Really interesting power pitcher from Miami, a guy who came in 2018 draft with a big reputation as a prep arm, decides to go back to go the school route, and has had a bit of an up and down career, maybe not living up to that potential. His line, though, was set at 22.5. And again, he's a guy I'm prepping for the 35th pick. Am I missing anything, or is this one of those unders that you hit just over and over before they adjust the line?
He's got 4 quality pitches, and, he's still kind of rebounding from some injuries in high school. But Slade Ciccone is a guy that I would definitely have to take the over on that one. Because, as you said, a lot of the prognosticators, including Drew and I, we have him going later on. Could be even available on the board for the Rockies at 35. He shared some time, with Chris McMahon at the University of Miami. So you got 2 Hurricanes pitchers right there for the taking. And, there's still some questions about him. And that line was almost shocking that I saw it so low. So unless they've got some intel on that, I think that one you definitely could hammer the over for Ciccone.
Yeah, the guy's trending in the wrong direction, and that's not normally something that you see out of a guy. I don't know why his draft stock has been going up when his performance has been going down. Right. I will say I still like the profile, and if he's there at 35, it could be a very interesting conversation for the Rockies. But one of the notes that I have on him is that he was better in high school than he was in college, and that's not typically a good sign. So I would be surprised if, I'm with you. That might be the lock of that we've talked about so far here. I would hammer the over on that thing.
Right. It feels like our margin of error more than like 2-3 picks is like 12 picks. So I like that. I like that wider margin of error.
Yeah.
That feels
Right.
Yeah.
One I'm interested in, Patrick Bailey, first kind of seen by many to be the first college catcher to go off the board, could threaten to go in the top 15. I guess I've seen the White Sox at 11, correct me if I'm wrong, as maybe a team that might be interested. His line, though, set at 12.5. He's one of those where it feels like if the White Sox go in another direction, maybe a prep arm, which we haven't talked about any prep arms amazingly, which kind of tells you the state of this class. Is Patrick Bailey at 12.5 and easy money on the over if you get past the Sox there?
The Sox seem to be the one route that he's most likely to end up in. That's another one that's very thin margin of error that I would probably stay away from. Mm-hmm. The track record on catchers is not very good for guys making it to the majors, and with only 5 rounds, the Rockies have 6 picks in those 5 rounds. There's a couple teams that only have 3. The Yankees have 3 picks, so they can't miss, right? A lot of teams have 4 and 5. You just can't miss. Even though you can sign players after the 5th round for $20,000, no player in their right mind would do it, because if you go in the 10th round next year, you're still going to get $250,000. So, there's not a lot of movement there, I don't think, for Bailey in that case, because catchers are just an unknown commodity in so many ways. He's good behind the plate, can hit from both sides at, NC State, and, but as long as there's one team out there that wants to covet him as, this draft class's Adley Rutschman, who went first overall last year to the Orioles, I mean, that's all it takes. But my gut says he's going to be an over, because I just don't see the upside there for him. Yeah. Not because of who he is as a hitter. If he moves off of catcher, it could be different. But as a backstop, man, it's just hard to project a guy like that sticking around.
Real quick, in the NFL, in these types of conversations, we would talk a lot about positional value. We'd be saying, hey, a center it just isn't going to go in the top 10 no matter how good everyone says he is. Is there players like that you're seeing in this draft where it's, okay, well, this guy is elite at this position, but the teams just don't value that position high enough for him to go that high? Or is there a guy like, a couple of years ago we had Quentin Nelson in the NFL draft who was just like, well, guard isn't usually a valued position. This guy is so good that position value just doesn't matter.
Well, let me put it to you like this. We've got it right here for the Rockies. They had 2 middle infielders as they were drafted, and they go ahead and convert those guys into catchers. And I'm talking about Dom Nunez and Tony Walters. So maybe the NFL equivalent is signing a guy to be a punter, and now he's your long snapper. Like, okay, if you can find value in doing that, go for it. So, a lot of organizations do that. The Rockies like athletic guys so they can move them all around the infield, outfield. They've got positional flexibility. But as far as catchers go, there was a guy at Louisville who, if the Rockies go ahead and take the chalk and go with Reed Detmers at 9, they might be able to convince this guy to sign for $20,000 to play with Detmers, his former and current teammate. And it's a gentleman by the name of Zach Britton, just like the pitcher for the Yankees. Now, he's an outfielder that has spent some time as a catcher. So, Mark Stripmatter of the Rockies, he's got some fantastic abilities developing those catchers. Again, look at Nunez. Look at what Tony Walters did, converting to the position. And with the state of baseball always in flux and there being a potential for an automated strike zone, well, now do you need a guy who's needs to work on his pitch framing abilities? Now you just took one element out of what makes catching so hard. You just took it completely out of the mix, and now you can go ahead and get creative and find a gem or a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, yep. Catchers can often not remain catchers when taken. The Rockies have had plenty of those over the years. They've also had a couple that they insisted remain catchers that they shouldn't have. Shout out to Willian Rosario.
Baby Bull.
Literally, the former GM of the team told me we should have made that guy a left fielder when he was in A-ball, because he could rake and he could not catch, because catching is really, really hard. And it's just tough to project those guys. So, yeah, throughout the draft, any of those guys, some of them, you go, well, you could repurpose them as an outfielder, and you're taking the bat more than anything. But that's the difficulty with a guy like Patrick Bailey, who's a defense-first catcher. And I love Patrick Bailey, and I love the profile. But, yeah, you can't spend too many resources on catcher. You just can't do it. And then, okay, the other answer to that, not that too many people get mixed up in this, but relief pitchers or people who maybe profile more to be relief pitchers. Don't draft those guys. The Rockies have tried it a couple of times. It's blown up in their faces. Even if if you've got it as a backup plan, that's okay. But even then, look at Riley Pint right now. That was kind of the idea. It's like, well, this guy's got an amazing arm. If he doesn't work out as a starter, we'll convert him to a reliever. What happens now? He's been converted to a reliever. Turns out you still have to throw strikes. So, those raw arms, be leery of the concept of this guy really profiles better as a reliever. If that's already something we're talking about, that's a problem. You don't want to be making that move until you're at AA.
Yeah. I have one more for you, and it's our Dane that Ryan knows how to pronounce better than me. He's plays outfield for the University of Arkansas, probably best power tool in the entire class. Heston Kjerstad. Over under 7.5. I get that he could be in play at 7, where we've talked about Austin Hendrick being in play there too. But we could see some pitchers going to the Pirates potentially at that spot as well. Talk about no margin for error. It's boom or bust with that 7 pick, and then he gone. So, yeah, I like the over on this 7.5. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that.
Yeah, I take the over on that because, again, as you said, very thin margin of error. The Pirates, there can be a wild card, at least this year. They have in the past in a lot of different ways. So,
True.
a lot of people are questioning his swing and miss abilities. It's kind of all or nothing. The walk rate isn't entirely there. AJ Hafley, who we had a fun debate on our podcast today about exactly that. If he's not a real three true outcome guy, he's not a guy who's going to hit a home run, strike out, or walk. He's either going to hit a home run or walk. And so that means he's striking out 50% of the time, rather than 1/3. Theoretically. So I would, you're a wise man, and that's why they call you the math magician. I would also take the over there, Andre.
Thank you.
My last one for you guys isn't as much betting, but just kind of set the stage for me tomorrow. Who is the Rockies' Jerry Jeudy? We talked all before the NFL draft. Oh, if Jerry Jeudy just falls to 15 by some miracle, that would be incredible. Who is the guy that if every pick, he's dropped past 4, he's dropped past 5, you guys are going to say, no way. Is it possible? Could he fall to 9? Who's their Jerry Jeudy?
Max Meyer.
Bingo.
I think we've talked ourselves into Meyer. And I was actually surprised to see his line at 5.5.
Yeah.
Like that someone out there's gotten real excited about Meyer. He hadn't been projected to go at 6, and most of the stuff we had seen, he was right there at actually 10 or 11, and it was really the Rockies would have their choice between him and Detmers. I started as a Detmers guy. I think he'll be there, and I think Detmers is more than a consolation pick. He's not a plan B. It's like Dre's not sold on Detmers at all. Dre's not into it. He's not.
I'm not into it. No.
And for the people who aren't sold on it, for the people I haven't been able to sell on Detmers, I think that's where the excitement would come. If Meyers is still on the board at 9 and the Rockies take him, that's probably as excited as you'll see Patrick and I be tomorrow if that manages to happen.
Yeah, Detmers is the guy that if they get, okay, cool, great, he was there, or somebody else. If Detmers ends up going to the Padres or something like that, that means there's going to be somebody else on the board. And even if they pick somebody that's further down in the teens as far as our power rankings go, we know that's going to mean something for the 35th and 46th pick. But if you want the Jerry Jeudy, Jerry Jeudy is an alliterative name. Jerry Jeudy. That was the whole story of this first hour plus. Jerry Jeudy. Now, Max Meyer. Another alliteration that's going to keep our 2020 MLB Draft show that much more exciting tomorrow.
Love it. Dre, you didn't seem to necessarily agree. Do you have another person in mind?
No. I'm all on board. Max Meyer is like Von Miller. I like him so much. I'm not reading about him. I'm not watching clips. I'm not allowing myself to get excited about him because it's not happening. He's going to the Jays or he's going to the Mariners, I think. I just don't think he gets out of the top 6. But I would love that. I mean, Tim Lincecum, I went on like 5 years of my life. Every time I'd watch him pitch, like, boy, it would have been nice to draft him. That faded quickly, thankfully, but still. So no, I'm on board. It's Reed Detmers that I'm just not on board with. But maybe that's just because I'm built to have draft rivalries with AJ, and I can't shake it. He's put his stake in the ground, and I've put mine, so that's fine.
All right, Max Meyer it is. I'll be crossing my fingers. And what Dre just said sounds a lot like what I said before the NFL draft. I kept saying if they want Jeudy, they got to trade up. He's going to go, but maybe the stars align. Okay, before we let you go, do either of you have any KBO picks you want to throw at us for tonight?
It's a Jokic night, boys.
Always go with Jokic, first of all. Don't. At least never bet against Jokic.
NC Dinos, man. My Dinos against the Doosan Bears. You just can't go wrong. They're not as hot as when they started the season, 10-1. So they've cooled down just a little bit, but they've got the best squad, I think, overall still in the KBO. So I would go hard on them at home. We're starting to see some fans in the building, and so that could be a nice positive impact for them as they are one of the first to kind of experience that home field bump against the Bears tonight.
All right.
Finally, a home field advantage and some betting lines. It's been a while
since we've had it's been a minute, man. It's been a minute. Yeah.
Take the road dog.
Yeah, lots of road dogs over here. You can say that again.
So are you giving the 1.5 there, Patrick? Or are you taking the money line minus 210?
Oof. Yeah, I'm gonna take the 1.5. I'm gonna take the 1.5 because these games are blowouts. Yeah,
that's how it's done.
Knows.
Yeah,
that's how
you
done.
Do it.
Well done.
Got a gambler on our hand.
Yeah.
All right, well, tomorrow night, 5 o'clock, that's DNVR Draft Day Live, MLB Draft Edition. It should be awesome. You heard all the guests. You just saw these two who were guests for us. They're awesome. And nowhere else will you get this type of coverage from a Rockies standpoint. You just won't find it. You might not find this about any team anywhere across the country. So make sure you tune in. Like I said, come down to the bar, have a beer, watch these guys up on the screen. It should be a good time. But we're gonna let these guys go before we get to our KBO picks. So shout out to you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers, fellas.
Thanks for having us on.
All right, Dre. Before we get into our KBO picks, a shout out to DraftKings Sportsbook. Awesome deals available right now. All new users can get a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. Sign-up bonus up to $1,000. I said, don't forget, enter code DNVR and use that code to get your sign-up bonus up to $1,000 only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Of course, you must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. The deposit bonus requires a 25x playthrough, and restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. You definitely want to get in on DraftKings. You don't want to miss out on these deals. You don't want to miss out on some of these Colorado-specific props that are available right now. It's the only place you can get DNVR specials, which is another boost. You know, the custom-created props by basically Dre and myself, and with some help from the Drews and Patricks and Adams and Harrisons of the world. We have a lot of different people kind of chiming in here as we get these DNVR specials. So make sure you go to DraftKings Sportsbook, DraftKings.com/sportsbook, and get signed up today. Okay, Dre, let's get into it. KBO time.
Yes.
I'll lead us off. I'm going Bears, Dinos over 10.5. I think we're going to have a high-scoring matchup there tonight between the Bears and Dinos.
I was looking at that one after Patrick was talking. I'm a little scared off by that pitching matchup. I'm just going to tell you. Though I love that those two teams. I love those two teams to pick an over with, but I'm just putting that out there. 10.5 though seems reasonable.
That's kind of what I was looking at. If it was up 11-12, which is actually where I thought it might be,
right.
I pull back. 10.5 seems reasonable to me.
Right, and even if the starters are good, there's plenty of time for these bullpens to screw it up in the KBO. I'm taking as my first pick Eagles-Giants over 10. Like that pitching matchup quite a bit, and we know the Giants can rake. Hopefully the Eagles can hold up their side of the bargain.
So you said it's a Jokic night.
Sure is.
And the over-under in the Heroes-Lions game is 10.5. Now, the team total for Samsung Lions is 3.5. So you're giving up quite a bit to go on that side of things. Mm-hmm. Are you willing to risk the Heroes going off with the bats to get a little more safety on the under there, or are you just going to go with the 3.5?
I got to go with the 3.5 because I'm getting at a plus 100. I love that. Also, I'm scared off by the total because the Lions have a really bad pitcher, like really bad, which is why I'm doubling down, and I'm also taking the Heroes over 6.5.
Okay, so you're playing both sides of it here. I like
both sides.
I like that. Which definitely makes sense to take the team. And just to give you an idea of what DraftKings thinks of this matchup, they've got Kiwoom at almost minus 300 to win. Even if you give up the 1.5, you're only getting minus 175. So they're basically saying, like, if you want to get even close to even money here, you're going to have to give up a lot. So I think they're with you, Andre. I think DraftKings sees this as like an 8-1 type of game here tonight.
Right. And in fact, I'm going to take that 1.5 too. I'm taking 4 KBO bets, 3 are Jokic related. So there you go.
Wow.
Sticking to what I know.
All in on Jokic.
Why not?
Okay, well, I'm going to ride with you on 2 of those 3 in terms of the under on Lions, over on Heroes. And man, my Twins are struggling right now. I usually like to get a Twins bet in here. I look around, I see what they got, and I just don't really like anything. So those will be my 3 for tonight. Okay. Tucson and NC over 10.5. Got Lyons under 3.5. Heroes over 6.5. Correct?
Yes, that's right.
There it is. All right.
Okay. So, I like some baked goods from home. I've got 2 extra lines for us. I want to make sure these are on the right days and I'm not screwing this up. But there should be tomorrow. Oh, no, it's Friday. Never mind.
Wait, can you give us a preview of what we're going to hear from you tomorrow?
Yeah. We finally have some Italian soccer, so I'm going all in. The math magician is steering away from the math and going all in with the heart. So get ready for that.
Uh-oh. All right. Well, we will catch up with you guys tomorrow. We're excited to talk about Italian soccer with you, Andre. And of course, get ready for DNVR Draft Day Live with our guys, Patrick and Drew. Really excited to have those guys on. Or really excited to see those guys cover the draft, and really thankful for those guys for coming on tonight. So, all right, we will talk to you tomorrow, and that's going to wrap it up for us.